All right, welcome back to another episode of Coding with Noah. I'm Noah, and this is part 3 of the color picker. So in this part, we're going to hopefully finish up our color picker, but we'll see. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to go to our color table and start working on the form. But before I do that, I'm going to do npm run dev so we can see what we're doing. And let's give it a second. Okay, there we go. That's awesome. So I'm going to delete this UL because we know it's working. I'm going to create a colors array and then call this CS and then set this CS equal to colors. So this is where the colors will be saved, but I'm also going to create a reactive variable, and we'll see why later, called table colors. And that's just going to be, for right now, set equal to colors. So we'll save that. And yeah, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to import the Svelte material UI elements we're going to need. So I'm just going to cheat a little bit and copy and paste this. I'll have this in the notes, but these are the elements that we're going to need. And we're just going to start with our form elements. So let's do that. So I'm going to do a div, and this div is going to have a BP of grid, and then it'll have a vertical end to push everything down, and then inside that div there'll be another div with a BP of offset 2 and 5, and this div will store the filter field, so it'll be a text field we've used before. And there's a weird bug with this library, so we have to set the name or the variable that we're going to bind this to. So I'll say filter name and the blank, and then do bind value equals filter name. And then the next thing we're going to need to do is, what else? Yeah, label. We'll set it equal to filter colors, and then so then we'll do this full width, which will make it take up the full width, and we'll set that equal to true. And let's save that and make sure that looks good. And that does. Next thing we'll need to do is we'll need to create another div, this time with a BP of 5. And we're going to wrap this in a form field because that's the way they did this in the example. You'll see it'll look good. We're going to give this a class of favorite, and that'll just be passed right down to the form field, HTML elements, and then we'll do a switch, and we have to bind it this time instead of the value to the checked prop, and we're going to say favorite only, and we're going to need to create that variable. So I'm going to do that right now. So I'm going to say let favorite only equal false. And that'll be toggled, basically toggling if we want to only show favorites or not. Then in here, we need to pass a label. So span, and then slot equals label, and then we're going to say favorite. And let's see what that looks like. Okay, that looks good. The only thing is we want the favorite to be over here, but we can't affect the styles in the component unless we use a global style. So that's what we're going to do. And that's why we pass the favorite class. So we'll do global favorite, and let me just make sure I'm getting it right. Yeah, float right. So that should force everything to the right, and it does. So that's looking good. The next thing we need to do is we need to do our data table. So we imported data table from here. So I'm going to import that. And here I'm going to cheat. I'm just going to say the data table is going to take up a width of 100%. So it's probably better to do that with an actual style. And I forgot to wrap it in a grid, which is why it's not taking up the whole space. So let's do that. So we're going to say div bp grid. And then we're going to want to do this as well. But instead of taking up 5, we want to take up 10 spaces. And we'll do another div. And we'll, oops. And then we'll cut this and paste that in. And let's see. Okay, good. So now it's at the right size, which I like. So we'll do a data table here. And the first thing we'll do is our head. And we'll do a head, and then we'll do a body. And this is just so I don't forget to do the body. You have to do that or things will error. So now we're going to do a row. This is where all the cells are. So our first cell is going to be fave, which will have the little heart. Our next cell for our th will be name. And I'm just going to copy and paste this. Color, which will display the actual color for the background of that cell. And then we'll do hex. And the last thing we'll do is nothing. And that'll display the delete one. Okay, so now that we have our head, let's do our body. And then here we'll start with an each because we want to loop through all our colors. We want to loop through the table colors. So let's do that. So this each block will basically loop through all of them. So as color. And then inside here, we'll do color.id. And by giving it an ID, it assigns each row an ID. So it'll only update the rows that change. So this helps with performance. On a small app like this, you probably won't notice anything, but on bigger apps, you definitely will. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a cell. So let's do that. And inside the cell, we'll have an if, and this is for the favorite. So we'll do hashtag if color is favorite, else, and then a closing if. So if the color is favorite, we want to create an eye with a material icons logo, and then we just put in their favorite. Not, we put in favorite border. Let's see. Oh, gave us 2. That's weird. I think that might be because yes, that's funny. So the reason that this is happening, and I'm glad I saved, is that we need to wrap all this in a row. Makes sense because tables, yeah, the cells need to be in a row. And I bet if we look, there'd be some massive errors. So now, if I close that out, you can see we have those 2 right there. So the next thing we need to do is our color name, which should be pretty easy. So we'll do cell, and then color.name, and then we'll do cell. And this time the cell is going to need a background color, so we'll do style, background color, and this is going to be an RGB, so we're going to have to do a RGB, and then we're going to say color.red, color.green, and then color.blue. Let's save that. And probably spelled something. Oh yeah, so I have 2 of the, yeah, so that's why. So I had an extra parenthesis. So now we can see our color. Next thing we're going to need is our hex value. So to get that, we're going to need to import our helper function. So let's do that. So we'll just copy this, paste that in, change this to RGB to hex, and change this from helpers, color helpers. And let's see if that compiles, and it does. So we got the import right, which is awesome. So now we're going to do a cell, and we're going to do RGB to hex, and we'll pass in the red color, the green color, and the blue color. And let's save that. And that's looking good. So the last one we have to do is the delete, which is pretty easy because it's just i.material icons. Oops. There we go. And then we just need to put in delete. Okay, so what you'll notice is that things aren't exactly centering up. So I'm going to override this so to make it center, and I'm going to push this down a little bit. And I think for this app, I'm going to make this half the size. So let's make this half the size to start off with, and because that'll be easy. So we'll go to color save. Right now we're at color displays at 200 pixels. So go ahead and change that to 100. Have more room. And then I'm going to push this down a little bit. So that'll be our second thing. So let's go up to here. We've got styles, and I'm just going to style the divs that have a BP equal to grid. And I'm going to say margin top equals 20 pixels. And that should push it down a little bit. Okay, looking good. And yeah, so the other thing I want to do is I want these all to be centered. So to do that, I'm going to do a global style so that it affects everything. So global T body. Yeah, T body. No, it's not T body. I'm sorry. Ooh, this is weird. Yeah, so it's MDC data. Yeah, if you look at, this is where I'm getting it from. I might just copy it from here. So yeah, MDC data header. So you can just copy that weird class. And what else do we need? Oh, an MDC-content, which should be right here. Yeah. So this should just center everything. So these are just classes that we're overriding the styles to. And let me make this a little bit bigger. And here we're just going to say text align equals center. And then I scroll down. Yeah, so now everything's centered. So I just like that a little better. So the other thing I wanted to do is just make material icons. Make them look more clickable. So I'm going to say cursor pointer. And now if I hover over them a few seconds, you'll see they look like they're more clickable. Okay. And yeah, and then we also want this to be clickable too, because we're going to click on it to edit. So we might as well get that done too. So we're going to say global T body /tr, and we're going to say cursor, and we're going to set that equal to the pointer. Oops, the pointer. And you got to do the colon. So let's see. Okay, so now everything looks clickable. So that looks good. Is there anything else? I think that's it. So that's it for the styles. So the next thing we have to do is basically we want to be able to favorite, delete it, and filter, and also edit. So we got a lot of stuff. So let's see if we can get it done. So let's start with the favorite, because I think that'll be simple. So we're going to create another function, const favorite. And we're going to set that equal to, we want an ID, and we want a favorite. And this is going to call the update. So color store.update, and it's going to take in all the colors. And what we're going to want to do is always got to remember to return the colors or to return something. So I'm going to call this fave color so that we can do that. So now I'm going to say const. Actually, what we can do is we can do, you'll see this, const filtered colors equals colors dot filter for c dot id does not equal id. So that will basically, this will now equal everything but the color that we want to filter. So now we can do filtered colors and we can copy that in with the spread operator. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to find the color that we want. We'll do const color equals colors find, and we'll say c or c.id equals id, and then we'll say color dot is favorite, and we'll set that equal to favorite. And now we need to just put that in, and that should work. Okay, so yeah, this will basically toggle. This will be a true or a false value. And before we use it, we have to add it. So fave color, and yeah, I think that does it. So now let's hook it into the button. So what we're going to do is we're going to hook it into here. So we're going to add an on click, and we're going to set this to fave, and we're just going to call fave, and we're going to pass the color.id. And then we're going to have another button, another method called unfave, and that'll also take the color ID. So let's see that. So let's do this. So I'm going to do function fave, and it'll take in an ID, and then function unfave, and that will take in an ID. Then this will call color store dot, make sure I get it right, fave color, and this will take in our ID, and we'll pass in true here, and for this one we'll pass in false, and let's see what happens. Does not seem to be working. I think something is happening, but probably not what we want. Let's see. So what we'll do is we'll just log these out. We can see if it is favoriting. We'll say colors just so that we can see it. Oops, we don't want that. Oh. And one thing we can also look at too is local storage. So we go to applications, local storage, and it looks like they're both false. And if I click on it, they're still both false, but they are changing positions. So that's interesting. Let's see. So something weird is going on. Oh, this is really okay. So we filtered our colors. Color dot is favorite. Let's console.log color. sure we're saving it right. Oh, you know what we did? This is funny. So we mixed up the functions. I'm sorry. So let me get to the right file. So what I mean is, if the color is a favorite, we want to unfave, and then if it's not favorite, we want to fave. So we got our faves mixed up. So now, hopefully, if I click this, purple goes, blue goes, but we can see that it's repositioning them. So that's no good. And it's putting it to the bottom. So I think what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to fix that. And I got a good idea how to fix it. And we're also going to want to style this red. So let's see. So I'm going to give this a class of heart and a class of heart. And we will style this red. We'll say color red. And that should make everything red. And okay, so now we need to make it to where it doesn't reorganize them. So yeah, we're going to actually rewrite our color store because we don't want the indexes to change in the array. So what we'll do is, instead of this, we'll use find index. I'll say color index. And this will actually be a little simpler. Should have done this probably to begin with. And we'll say color index is favorite. And we'll just return colors. So I'm going to select the purple one, and it's no longer doing that because we're no longer reordering them. So that's good. And let's just delete our console.logs because that'll get annoying. Okay, so now we've got our is favorites. That's working. Let's do the delete because that one will be really simple. So we're going to create a const delete method. So we're going to say delete color because we can't use the word delete. And that's going to take in an ID. And we're going to go here and we're just going to copy this, paste that in. And what we'll return is colors.filter, where c.id does not equal the ID. So that will delete the color. And now we just need to put that down here and use it. So we'll create a function called delete color. Take an ID, and color store, delete color, and we'll pass in that ID. And then we'll go down to here and we'll do an on click. We'll say delete color. So we'll call it and we'll just pass in color.id. Let's actually go here so that we can see. So if I delete this one should go away. Oh, and it did. So that did work. That's awesome. So that worked the first time. Woo! So we're rocking it out here. So the next thing we need to do is we'll just get the filters working. So let's do that. And I want to see how we're doing on time. Yeah, we'll get the filters working. That sounds good. So what we want to do is we want to filter by name and is favorite. So what we'll do here, because this is a reactive variable, we'll create a function called filter rows, and that'll take in colors, favorite only, and filter name. And the reason that we're doing this is that whatever's on the other side of the equal sign will update when this is called. So we need to have that take in all those variables so that it'll automatically update. So filter row, and we'll say colors, favorite, and name. So the first thing we'll do is we'll say const new colors equals colors filter C, and this we're just going to filter the favorites first. So C dot is a favorite, or, and I'm just going to call this fav only, or fav only is false. I'll let it go through. And we'll do another filter, and then we'll say C equals C name dot to lowercase, so that way we can type in capital letters. Index of, so name dot to lowercase, because we just want everything to be case insensitive. So in theory now that should work, but there's an error. Let's see what that error is, and I bet it's that we're not returning anything. So we can just, instead of setting this to a value, we can return it. Okay. And what we can do, let's just see. Okay, so, oh, if index of is, so yeah, we need to say if index of is greater than -1. I think that's what we need to say. So now if I say blue, it disappears, and favorite only works. But let's just create another colors. Call this green. That isn't favorite. And okay, so now our thing is working like so. So yeah, so we're filtering by name, lowercasing everything, and we're filtering. We got the is favorite filter working. So our last step in this video is to create another store that will allow editing. And yeah, let's do that, and we'll just finish it up. So it might be a little bit longer than I would like, but that's okay. So we'll say select color.js. And this is going to be a writable store, so we can just copy some of our stuff here. Minus, so this will be select color. And this is not going to take in, this will take in an object, because this will be the color that we selected. So this will be called when we click on the row, and it'll pump it up to here. So we're just going to export default, do our subscribe, do our select color.subscribe, and we're going to create a method called set, so const set color. That's going to take in a red, a green, a blue, a name, and an ID. Actually, we'll call this select color. We can't, so we'll just call it set color. So now what we're going to do is we're going to call select color.set, and we're just going to pass all these in: red, green, blue, what else? Name and ID. And then we'll just say set color. So what will happen is when set color is called, it'll basically set this value, and then the save color will be listening to it and will change to the color that needs to edit. So let's do that. So in our color save, we're going to import select color. We'll say select color, and we'll say select color. So that's looking good. And now we'll create a function called function select color, and that'll take in an ID. Well, no, it'll take in a red, a green, a blue, a name, and an ID. And then we will then call color store, not color store, but select color, set color, and that'll take in a red, a green, a blue, a name, and an ID. Okay. So now what we need to do is we need to pass that to the function when it's clicked. So on the row, we'll create an onClick, select color, and then let's listen to it in our color save method. So we're going to import that in. So I'm going to go back to color table. We have the import, and let's import that in. So we'll do that right here. So just to keep this simple, we won't use an onMount because for this it's not super necessary. But normally you would use an onMount function. Actually, we'll do that just because we can import onMount. And onMount is called when the component attaches to the HTML. So we want to wrap this in an onMount. These are part of the life cycles of Svelte. So this is our selected color. And then what we can do is we can say name equals c.name. We want to wrap this in an if c. Actually, we'll say if c is nothing, just return. Otherwise, let's set all these values. ID equals c.id, red equals c.red, blue equals c.blue, green equals c.green. And then our mode is going to be edit. Okay. So now let's see what happens. So if I click this, in theory, the name should just appear. So something's probably wrong. Let's see what it is. So green is not a thing. Oh, I'm at a typo. So it's in select color store. And there we go. See if that works now. So if I click this, I got another error. Type error cannot read length of undefined. Oh, okay. So that's weird. So I bet that's because it's starting out as, so you would think this false would just make it go away. So let me just show you what I mean. So if I click this or refresh the page, so yeah, you would think that would just go into here, but for some reason it doesn't. Goes here, but well, maybe it worked that time. Okay, so now it's actually setting the variables, but it's not saying, yeah, property.length of undefined. So let's do that again. See what's going on. So what does C equal? Oh, look at that. That's funny, right? So it's just passing in the pointer event. So that means that we're passing the wrong stuff to it. And that's because we didn't pass in the what we needed to pass in. So yeah, so if you just wire up a function, it'll just pass in the event, but we need to actually call the function in here. So we're going to say color dot red color.green, color.blue, color.name, and color.id. So let's save that, and that should fix it. That's funny. So hopefully this works. And now let's try it. Okay, I think that worked. So yeah, purple's being set and that variable's being set. Let's try it with green. Okay, that worked. We do want this button to change, and there's also a bug. So watch this. If I favorite green, right? Notice how that gets called. And the reason that gets called is that we're not stopping event propagation. Because this is in the row, it's getting clicked and the favorite's getting clicked. So what we need to do is we need to add something special to the event propagation logic. We need to basically add a filter. So we can do that right here, and it's called stop propagation. I think that's what it's called. Oops, maybe we can just copy it from here because I bet I spelled it wrong. Yeah, so stop propagation. And let me just exit out of that. So we're going to do it also for the favorite. So we need to do it 2 more times. And that will stop the events from bubbling up. So now in theory, if I click this, you can see it doesn't trigger an edit. But if I click that, it does. All right, so we're really close to the end. The last thing we need to do is create some logic to display a cancel button and a edit button and edit it. So let's do that. Okay, so we're going to go into our color save. We're going to scroll down here, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm going to take a quick bathroom break, so I'm going to pause, but I'll be back in a few seconds, or you won't even notice, but I'll be back. Sorry about that, guys. I feel a lot better now. So let's finish this up. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap this in an if statement. So we're going to say if mode equals add. And then we're going to do an else. Yeah, well, we'll just do 2 ifs. So we'll just end that if. There's a bunch of ways you can do this. I don't know which one's better. so we'll just do it the simple way. If mode equals edit, display this guy. Okay, so we're going to want to have 2 buttons. So let's do that. So yeah, and these are going to be wrapped in a div one, a 1 and a 1. And we'll have an edit, and we'll have a cancel. And actually, this should have been primary. Oh well. And this should be secondary, and then this should be primary. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, that makes sense. Let's see what happens. Edit and cancel. Oh, secondary. Oh, got to spell stuff right. So we'll cancel. Okay, that looks good. That's what we want. I'm liking it. So we got a cancel and an edit. Okay, so the cancel one's going to be super easy. So let's do that. And the way we'll do that is we'll just say onClick reset because we already have the reset function. So let's edit, cancel, and it goes back. Okay, that's good. And then the next thing we'll need is an edit color. Edit color. And we'll do a function edit color. And yeah, and we need to add that to our store as well. So let's do that. So we'll go to our store, and we're going to create another method or function called edit color. And that's going to take in an ID, a name, a What else is it going to take in? A name, a red, a green, a blue value. But we'll just to keep things consistent, we'll do that. So it'll take in red, green, blue, and ID. And let's see. So now what we need to do is we need to say color store dot update colors. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find that color index. Color index. And we're going to set that equal. We're going to do that by doing what we did up here in the fave colors. And then what we're going to do is we're going to find that, and we're just going to change all these. I'm going to say blue equals blue, and we'll just copy and paste that a bunch of times. Red equals red, green equals green, and name equals name. And we don't have to change favorite because that doesn't get changed here. And then we'll just return colors. And we're getting an error. Let's see what's going on. Oh, look at that. We forgot our little ES6 syntax. So now that should work, hopefully. And it does. And we'll edit the color. And now let's go into here. Color save. And we'll call, instead of add color, we'll call edit color. And the only thing we have to pass in is the ID. And we want to call reset once we're done editing the color. Let's see. So I'm going to change this to deep purple. Edit. And that did work. So now if I say deep purple. Okay, cool. So there's one last thing I want to do. So notice if I type in here, you're just going to have to trust me on this. If I type in here and I hit enter, nothing's happening. So I really like that ability to hit enter. So we're going to do that. So we're going to go back to our form field. We're going to go back to this field and we're going to wrap it in a form. And we want to call something when the form submits. So on submit. And this time we're going to prevent default because we don't want the form submitting. We just want it calling this function submit. Now submit will be called on edit and it will be called on add. So we're going to have to add a little bit of logic to this. But because we have our mode, it's pretty easy. So we'll say if mode equals add, call the add color and return. If mode equals edit, you guessed it, call the edit color and return. And let's see what that does. Is there an error? If there's an error, submit is not found. I bet that's the error. So somebody typed in submit wrong. I wonder who that was. All right, so that's submit. Let's see. Okay, now we're good. So now I'm just going to do a test. I'm going to do a green grass color. And I'm going to set that to something I think looks like green grass. I don't know. So this time I'm going to hit enter. And that did submit. Now I'm going to call it greenish grass. And I'm going to hit enter. And that did work. Okay, with that being said, we are done. The only thing left to do is to create a repository for this. So let's do it. Let's finish up this marathon of a color picker. So I'm going to clear. I'm going to make sure. Oh, yeah, we already made sure that everything's done. Okay, so go to PHP tuts and going to create new. And this will be YT Svelte color picker 2. That looks good. We'll create the repository. You guys probably know the drill by now. We're going to get init. We're going to get add dot. We're going to get commit -m. Yay! Finished it. We're going to clear, and then we're going to do the remote add. Please use your own URL because it won't work otherwise. And then we're going to push everything up. And now that it's pushed, it should, when I refresh, that should work. And now if we do npm run build, see my fingers, that should publish it. So let's see. I'm going to go here, and so far nothing. It looks like it was uploaded. Okay, this takes a second usually, as we have found out together. So we'll wait another second or two. Okay, it looks like it's published. Okay, everything's working. So this is a live site, so we'll say green, blue, and red. And you can see everything's working. So this is awesome. We can favorite colors, we can edit colors, we can cancel. Everything is working. So I just want to say, if you got to the end of this, congratulations. Thank you so much. If you have any feedback, please let me know. I am going to be working on the API one really, really soon. Hope you all have a great day, and I will catch you on the flip side.